In the mysterious village of Oguta Allah, the gods did the unthinkable. They made the men pregnant. In the quiet heart of the dense African forest, bordered by a winding river and thick with ancient trees, there was a forgotten village called Oguta Allah, a place spoken of only in whispers, and always with unease. The people of Oguta Allah lived simple lives, untouched by the outside world. Their women were known for their beauty, and their men, very mean and wicked, with hearts as hard as stone, who treated their wives like servants, not partners. They barked commands, raised hands without shame, and showed no kindness to the women who bore their children and shared their burdens. But something had been shifting in the wind, a presence watching. It began after the last Harmattan season. The rains came late, the moon hung low and red, and the animals in the forest grew restless. That was when Nyi Okoro, the village blacksmith, started to complain of nausea. The elders laughed. "You drank too much palm wine," they teased. But when Nyi Okoro's belly began to swell round and tight like a woman in her second trimester, the laughter stopped. Then came Uche, the fisherman. Then Ekene, the hunter. One after another, men across Oguta Allah began experiencing strange symptoms. Morning sickness, backaches, swollen feet, and cravings for roasted groundnuts and unripe mango. Within weeks, 13 men, young and old, had growing bellies. The village was thrown into chaos. The Dibia, an ancient spiritual healer, was summoned. Mama Daku, the oldest woman in the village, whispered, "This is not ordinary. This is the work of Ani, the spirit of the land. The men have offended her." "Offended her how?" asked Chief Abina, his voice trembling. "We offer sacrifice every season." But Mama Adaku narrowed her eyes. "Not all things are settled with yams and goat blood. Something deeper sleeps beneath this soil." Desperate for answers, the Dibia, Ozugbo, performed a midnight ritual. He slaughtered a white cockerel at the foot of the Iroko tree, where the land was said to breathe. As the blood soaked the earth, the wind wailed like a woman in labor. And then, silence. Ozugbo collapsed, and when he awoke, he uttered a single phrase. "The curse of the broken womb has returned." The villagers begged him to explain, but Ozugbo only wept and refused food. "The truth is too heavy," he said, "and some spirits speak only in riddles." Soon, the men began to feel movement within their bellies, like tiny kicks, like life. They screamed, they pleaded, they prayed. The women of the village, confused and fearful, began to panic. "What if my husband becomes pregnant as well?" one of the women murmured. Whispers began to spread, stories of a time long forgotten, when Oguta Allah was ruled by women. Stories of betrayal, of a man who stole the sacred wombstone from the shrine of Nmwo, the Great Mother, of a curse cast in vengeance to one day return when the land bled again. No one knew how to stop it. No one could leave the forest now moved. Those who tried to escape found themselves back at the village gate, no matter how far they walked. One man must give birth under the moonlight, willingly. But who would dare? And what exactly were they carrying inside them? The curse of Oguta Allah deepened with each passing moon. What began as disbelief had now morphed into an everyday horror. The once proud men of the village were now hunched over, waddling about like expectant mothers, their hands supporting swollen bellies. Nyi Okoro, the blacksmith, could no longer lift his hammer. He now sat under the mango tree, groaning. "I can't breathe," he groaned. His wife, Obianuju, smirked as she fanned herself lazily. "Now you know," she said. "When I was pregnant with Chisum, you told me I was overreacting." The women began to gather every morning in the village square, sitting under the Udala tree, laughing with clay pots of water beside them. Some chewed kola nut, others roasted maize, and all of them laughed not cruelly, but with the seasoned bitterness of experience. Uche, the fisherman, dragged his swollen feet across the sandy path, stopping to rest every few meters. His wife, Ngozi, called after him, "Didn't you say pregnancy was easy? That we just sat around eating?" She clapped her hands and laughed, tears in her eyes. Even the little girls mocked their fathers and uncles. "Uncle Akane, your belly is bigger than Mama's," one shouted. "Will you cry during labour too?" The men grumbled, but there was no room for pride anymore. Some couldn't sleep from the back pain. Others had nightmares of rivers of blood and children with silver eyes. Ekene, the hunter, screamed in his sleep, waking to find tiny handprints pressed on his stomach from the inside. Even worse, the men began to feel emotions they had buried long ago. Ifeanyi, the palm wine tapper, broke into tears because his wife didn't cook yam porridge with uziza leaves. He wept for 30 minutes before falling asleep while hugging a pillow. The women watched. They whispered to one another, "Maybe now they will understand. Maybe now they will stop calling us weak. This curse might be a blessing." But not everyone was amused. The eldest, especially the male ones gathered under the council tree, desperate and fearful. "This thing is unnatural," barked Chief Abina, his belly peeking through his robe. "We are becoming something else." Ozugbo, the dibia, now frail and shaking, was kept under constant watch. He spoke in riddles, carving strange symbols into the clay floor. There is only one womb that can unmake what has been made. It lies beneath the altar of Neimu, but it must be awakened by pain, not power. Meanwhile, inside the men's bodies, something was changing. The kicks grew stronger. Some men swore they heard whispers inside them. Names, songs, warnings. Then, one night, under a blood-red moon, Uche's water broke. His screams shook the village. The women ran, forming a circle around him as he lay trembling in the sand, soaked and wide-eyed. "I don't want to die," he cried. "Please!" Obianaju stepped forward, handing him a cloth. "Push," she said simply, her voice firm. "It's your turn." And so the first birth began. But what would come out was not what anyone expected. Uche's screams echoed through the night like the howling of a spirit caught between worlds. The women crowded around him, guiding him through the torment he had once mocked. "Push, Uche! Breathe! Hold your knees!" His eyes bulged with pain. His body shook. The earth beneath him trembled. Then suddenly silence. Everyone gasped. A strange light flickered in the air above Uche's swollen belly, and with one final cry, something emerged. But it was not a baby. It was a glowing calabash, sealed tightly with sacred cowries, floating just inches above the ground. The women stepped back. From the calabash came a sound. Not a cry, not a voice, but a memory that poured out like smoke, forming images in the sky. The villagers watched in stunned silence. They saw how the men of Oguta Allah had treated their wives during pregnancy. Obianaju crying under the sun, carrying a basket of firewood while her husband slept. Nosy vomiting at the riverside while Uche laughed and walked away. Ekene striking his wife for craving too much roasted plantain. Nai Okoro calling his wife lazy, weak, and slowed despite the life growing inside her. One by one, the images revealed the truth. The men had shown no compassion, no support, no love. A voice rose from the calabash, echoing, ethereal, divine. For generations you laughed at your women's pain. You dismissed their cries. You fed your pride while they carried your legacies. So the earth cried out to me, and I answered. It was the voice of Nemuo, the great mother spirit. I gave you their bird not for punishment, but for remembrance, that you may feel what they feel, that you may carry what they carried, not in flesh, but in truth. The glowing calabash rose higher, then burst into golden mist. Instantly, the bellies of the men deflated. They collapsed to the ground, exhausted, drenched in sweat and humbled. The village was silent. Then Mama Adaku, with her walking stick and a smirk, stepped forward and said, "So, now you know." She turned to Chief Abina. "Next time your wife says her back is paining her, will you offer her a stool or call her lazy?" He nodded slowly, tears falling down his cheeks. That morning, the sun rose gently over Oguta Allah. A new peace washed over the village. The men began to change. They woke before dawn to help their wives cook and fetch water. They massaged aching backs. They stayed up late rocking crying babies. And when their wives wept, they did not laugh, they listened. Years passed, and Oguta Allah became a place known for balance, respect, and harmony. The story of the pregnant men was passed down to every child, etched into the village walls and sung by griots under moonlight. Because in Oguta Allah, men now knew what it meant to carry life and to honor those who do.